It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Good to have you all with us this Monday edition of the program. Got a lot to talk about. They were brawling at an All-Star Game event. Can't we get that in more sports? Talk about that in odds and ends today. Something to consider. I got it wrong. Xander Shauffele is a winner at a major. Congratulations to him. And Caitlin Clark is 0-3. We'll talk about that a bit. Also, Robert Littal, Black Sports Online, stops by the show, get his thoughts on the NBA postseason and a huge boxing match over the weekend that really is invigorating the heavyweight division in boxing. No, not Mike Tyson. We'll get to that coming up. But we do start things out in the NBA. My man Sam Yarnell is here and hanging out with us as he always does on the program. All right, let's talk about the fact that I said on Friday, and you weren't here, one of the things that I found most perplexing about the Game 6 performance from the Nuggets was that they essentially just gave away the game. I mean, you were blasting the doors off of this T-Wolves team for the last 3 games. And you go into a Game 6, foot on their throat. There had to be some doubt in the minds of the Wolves at that point. And you go in and basically cede Game 6 to Minnesota and say, we'll take our chances in Game 7. We'll flip the switch. We'll be on our home floor. We'll be able to right the ship there. And this is what happens when you play a style and sort of cement an attitude within an organization of, we can just flip the switch. We're that damn good. When the time comes and we need to rise to the occasion, we can, because then you go to flip that switch, you try to rise to the occasion, and the balloon is deflated as that crowd was in the Mile High City on Sunday night as the Nuggets fall to a huge rally from this T-Wolves team that has put itself in a Western Conference final for the first time in about 75 years, it feels like. I don't know, man. And look, we can talk about how great the T-Wolves are. Here's the bottom line. That team was up 20 on their home floor in a Game 7. Finished the damn game off.
The T-Wolves Nuggets to the Nuggets. It was actually really cool to watch. They looked like this completely different team in the second half. The halftime adjustment was absolutely all there from the T-Wolves, and the Nuggets came out in the second half of this game completely flat. You don't blow a 20-point lead without being completely flat for at least an entire quarter. The third quarter was that. I do think one thing I noticed in this game from the early going, things were so bad for the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first half of this game. Rudy Gobert was taking Euro steps across the lane. I mean, come on. And it happened multiple times, too. It wasn't just a one-time thing. The most impressive thing to me for the Timberwolves in this game actually didn't have to do with their play on the floor. I was truly impressed with how many Timberwolves fans made their way out to Denver. Granted, it was the biggest game in that franchise's history in 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
But I was very impressed with how many Timberwolves fans there were in the stands there in Denver. They got pretty loud even when their team was down, 18, 20 points at certain points in that first half. So I'm excited for this Timberwolves team. I'm starting to fall for them. I think they're quickly becoming America's team.
And
Jason.
by the way, Mike Inori, that guy is assistant coaching himself into a head coaching job somewhere. Just keep that in mind real quick. So it's over for the Nuggets. Post-game comes around. Media's got to do its job at the podium. You've got Michael Malone up there. And by the way, in the background of his answer to this question, which we'll get to, listen to the T-Wolves, who you can hear on the other side of the wall, celebrating in the locker room as Malone has to answer this question. Because if we could hear it, then trust me, he could hear it.
Defensively for you guys after you went up 20 in the second half?
Our offense.
Did you feel like there was anything that you guys got away from offensively in that stretch after you reached that point?
I'll have to go back and watch the film.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Being up 20. The season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
Okay, look. Here's the bottom line here. Michael Malone wants to act like he's Greg Popovich, but you're not Greg Popovich, okay? You beat a Heat team that was a play-in team to win an NBA championship. Then you proceed to get on that podium after that game last night and bitch and moan about being the targeted team and how much energy that took out of your team. And they gave everything they had. And all these other teams in the postseason, they didn't have to play as many games as we had to play. You know what makes great championship teams? You know what makes dynasties? You know what makes players and athletes and all this stuff? It's the ability to do it over and over again, year in and year out. And instead, I got to suffer through this clown getting up on the podium and belittling a reporter who asks a legitimate question about blowing a 20-point lead, because that's the headline here. You blew a 20-point lead in Game 7 at home. Shut up and take your medicine, Mike Malone.
The upsetting thing to me about all this is that Michael Malone is kind of single-handedly taking credit away from his own team and the greatness of his own team. As much as we'll sit here and talk about this as a team that, they're merchants of a play-in team in the finals with their only championship and so on and so forth. The fact of the matter is Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player in the league right now. He's the most versatile. There's a reason he's won MVPs at the clip that he has.
Generational.
There's a reason they had MVP fatigue and they handed it to Joel Embiid.
Yes.
All Michael Malone is doing at this point is taking away from the recognition we give Nikola Jokic for how truly special of a basketball player he is. And quite frankly, Jamal Murray too. Michael Porter Jr. is a hell of a ball player, but Michael Malone is now single-handedly taking the attention away from a still not terrible season that the Nuggets had. Granted, all this the situations they were put into, he's taking away from that and putting attention on the wrong areas. It's upsetting to see in today's NBA.
Like I said, man, act like you've been there. How you win with class, lose with class. Get it, you're upset. You just blew a 20-point lead in Game 7 on your home court. I'd be pissed too. But taking it out, being unprofessional towards the reporter, just doing his job, do better, man. We're coming back, Knicks Pacers.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats go way beyond just credit card fraud. Today's identity thieves can use your information in ways that are easy to miss by just monitoring accounts and credit, like opening loans, transferring home titles, even committing crimes.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and it was used for criminal activity.
You can do so much with a social security number that I didn't know could happen. They drained my bank account. It was terrifying.
You're even more vulnerable than you realize. Your information is exposed through online shopping, banking, even corporate data breaches. No wonder there's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats all in one place, like someone trying to use your social security number, open a new loan in your name, or even commit a crime in your name.
There was a big yes button and there was a big no button. I clicked, "That's not me," and LifeLock took it from there.
If you become a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will be assigned to your case and work to fix the issue on your behalf.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you.
All LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds, personal expenses, and coverage for lawyers and experts up to $1 million. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. With LifeLock, it's easy to help protect yourself.
I will be with LifeLock forever.
Join the millions of people already protected by LifeLock. And for a limited time, save 25% on your first year with promo code 25TV. All plans include a 60-day money-back guarantee.
Call 800-710-7531.
Or visit lifelock.com/25TV to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found against nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
The one and only Sports Wrap continues on this Monday. I can't fit it all in today. That's how much there is to talk about. We'll somehow do it. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online, frequent contributor to this show, stops by in about 10 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on the NBA postseason. Plus, he's a big boxing guy. We'll get his thoughts on the big heavyweight championship fight over the weekend. Usyk beats Fury. Also, we're going to get a boxing match between Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva next month in Brazil. I want to get his thoughts on those two MMA legends meeting up in the boxing ring. Should be interesting. We continue the conversation with Sam Yarnell as well as we go through this NBA playoff weekend. And look, I ain't even got the heart. I ain't even got the heart to talk about this because it was so demoralizing to watch the way this Knicks season ended. Where you've got a team that's getting blown out at home in game 7. And then they start to rally in the third quarter. And for a moment, me and John McEnroe were starting to think, you know what? This team might have a little something left in them. Get it down to 6. Pacers run it right back up to 15. And then Jalen Brunson leaves the game. And when Jalen Brunson leaves the game, you just expect at some point he's going to come back out. Not this time. Fractures his hand. And a freak play. Swiping down, trying to strip the ball. I think it was from Tyrese Halliburton. And breaks his hand, basically. And basically broke the spirit of the Knicks at that point, other than Dante DiVincenzo, who did his best to try and keep the Knicks in this game. The Pacers move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Congratulations to them. I mean, look, it's a great moment for that franchise and this group. To accomplish what they have. The play-in tournament this year, or the in-season tournament this year, was a big moment for them that kind of, I think, prepared them for this. But here's the reality of it. They beat a Knicks team that by the end of Game 7 was missing basically their entire starting roster. I mean, we have to call it what it is. The Knicks were the better team here if they have their full components. But they didn't. And credit to the Pacers, they go into Madison Square Garden and get a win. But anybody who's disillusioned, or anybody who has these illusions of grandeur that think this team is going to beat the Boston Celtics, think again. They're going to get dusted in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's beating the Boston Celtics. Credit to the Knicks. It's the best season they've had in 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. I was talking to somebody this morning who is, very deep in the basketball realm, and he was saying it's really cool that
his name start with J.
You look at the teams left in
Does his name start with J and end with J?
No. But no. This is someone who works in the NBA,
okay. All right,
and they're saying it's really cool from a narratives perspective because you look at the 4 teams we have left. You have Tyrese Halliburton, Luka Doncic, Ant Edwards, and Jason Tatum. One of those 4 guys will win a championship for the first time in their career and forever alter their legacy. Mm-hmm. I think that that's a really cool thing that this NBA playoffs has brought us, as much as there are people I know out there talking about how the Lakers were the second best team in the West, and if they play anyone but the Nuggets, oh my gosh, they'll go all the way to the conference finals. Yeah, sorry, it's not the case. Luka Doncic is a lot better, and Tyrese Halliburton is becoming a face of this league quickly. Jason Tatum was already there and still trying to get over the hump. Basketball is in a really good spot. With regard to this series, it was, you're right. It was sad to see the Knicks go out this way. I mean, even before Brunson got hurt, this was a wire-to-wire win for the Pacers. The game felt over after the end of the first quarter. It's hard for that to be the way the Knicks season ends after, their historic performance. But again, I think if you're a Knicks fan or if you're at all a Knicks supporter, you cannot take anything away from this season besides the fact that it's only up from here.
Well, it is, but here, and I don't have a ton of time on this because I want to get to the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals. So I'll make this real quick. There has to be a question asked. And some of this goes towards something that you have said, Sam, and I'll give you credit because you somewhat belabored the point, but I think at the end of all of this now, I think it is fair to say there needs to be a come to Jesus moment with this organization and how they're managing this roster, and that starts with Tom Thibodeau. It's great that this team was able to advance as far as they are. And I'm not saying any of these injuries had anything to do with the way that Tom Thibodeau plays the team, because a lot of them were freak injuries. They weren't caused by wear and tear, maybe the hamstring with Anunoby, but that's about it. You have to ask a question as an organization. Can we win this way? Can you win playing 7 and 8 guys a night when you go and look at these other teams that are advancing to where they are and they can play 9 and 10 and are throughout the season? If you want to shorten it when you get to the postseason, I get it. If you want to make that rotation smaller, playing an 82-game schedule at the intensity level that the Knicks have, and I'm not saying I'm about load management and resting guys every night. I'm just saying having a broader spectrum of players that you can put into a game, it has to be something that's discussed about the Knicks in this offseason. All right, leave that where it is. Eastern and Western Conference Finals. All right. Start with the one that we're talking about here with the Celtics, obviously. Minus 1,200 are the Boston Celtics to win the Eastern. You can get the Pacers at plus 680. And I listen, I'm the first one to tell you, I think the Pacers are getting dusted, but the only value in this series is that.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that 680 number is as low as it is. You'd like to see it more like a 750, something like that. But I was talking to a couple of people who different allegiances across the Eastern Conference. But I was talking to them during that Knicks-Pacers game about numbers-wise how that series works out. And if Boston really is minus 1,200, there's got to be value on the other team off the strength of something going wrong like it did for the Knicks with Boston.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Real quick here. T-Wolves minus 170, Mavericks plus 138. Who do you like?
You gotta go with the Mavs. I like the T-Wolves. I have become a T-Wolves fan. I'm cementing that here. I would bet on the Mavericks.
Okay, so I was going to ask you that real quick. The storyline you're rooting for the most is the T-Wolves.
I'm sold down the river. Ant Edwards is my favorite player in the NBA.
I'll go with the Mavericks. That's the storyline I'm rooting for the most because of Luka, Kyrie. What it would mean to Kyrie's legacy to get another title, too. Robert Littal joins us on the other side from Black Sports Online. Sports Wrap rolls on this Monday. Good to have you with us. Spend a couple of segments with our friend Robert Littal, founder of Black Sports Online. At BSO, if you're looking for him on X, formerly known as Twitter. I can say he's a frequent contributor now to the show. We'll do some boxing in 10 minutes because I tell you, there's been a lot of great. I said this when we had you on last week or the week before. There's a lot of great headlines coming out of boxing right now. And this weekend, this weekend was another great example of that. So we'll get to that coming up in a bit. But I want to get your thoughts now that we have the Eastern and Western Conference finals set up. And start with, look, I said this on Friday's show. And I said, you are playing with fire, Scarecrow, when you get into a situation like the Nuggets did, where you essentially mail in Game 6. You could tell that team had no interest in that game 6 in Minneapolis. And throughout this entire season, this was a team that just decided they were going to play the flip the switch game. And hey, we know what it takes to win a championship. When the time comes, we'll flip the switch and it'll be there. Well, they went to flip it this weekend and it wasn't there. And Minnesota,
they've been playing with fire the entire season, to be honest with you. And from my observation, when I was a young man, I had a 1985 Oldsmobile Brougham, and I didn't have any money. Okay, so what that meant was when I put gas in the car, I had to make sure that gas lasted for a long time, and I had to cut corners and make sure that gas lasted a very long time. And for me, the Nuggets coming off their championship, that tank didn't start on full in the season. It started off bad with Murray getting hurt early in the season, and throughout the season, as you said, it seemed like you said, they pick and choose when to put the accelerator on and when to leave the car, in the garage. And by the time they got up by 20 against the T-Wolves, the tank was totally empty. And you can see it just in their body language and the way they were getting up and down the court. They had nothing left. They've been getting by on what I like to call a championship moxie. It's kind of the same way Bernard Hopkins would get by once he became like 40 and 50. It's like he wasn't getting by on skills. He was getting by on his mentality. And in basketball, unfortunately, since it's not a one-on-one sport, riding Murray, riding Jokic, the starters so hard that Mike Malone did, it was very questionable the way that he used the bench or not used the bench. Their gas tank just ran out before they can get to the finish line.
Yeah, it certainly did. And look, kudos to Minnesota. I mean, down 20 in that game, they could have easily rolled over. And, part of the evolution of becoming a championship team, not saying they will be, but getting to that level is going through this sort of experience that they went through in a game where Anthony Edwards didn't really even play that well. I think he had 16 points. He didn't shoot it particularly well. I think he was 9 of 19 or something like that. It wasn't a gaudy number, whatever it was. I think that
may be the best indicator that they can win a championship.
Yes, I agree.
Because if the Nuggets, if Jamal Murray and Jokic don't play well, they lose. If Anthony Davis and LeBron don't play well, they lose. If Luka and Kyrie don't play well, they lose. Anthony Edwards is seen as a guy that if he doesn't play well, that's an automatic L. But to see their team actually pick him up until he got going, I would consider that an excellent sign for them going forward.
Well, let me ask you, who do you like with them in the Mavs? Because I still like Dallas. I still say push comes to shove, give me Dallas. I love what the Mavericks are doing with Luka and Kyrie. And both, and you hate to say it because both of these teams and sort of the path they've forged to get to this point, you can make the argument both of them feel destined for the NBA Finals. But I like the experience that Kyrie brings to the table in this series. To me, and to a lesser degree, Mike Conley brings that to Minnesota and what they do. But I love watching this continued maturation of Kyrie Irving and him having this Mavericks team along, obviously with Luka, in a position here to go to an NBA final. What do you think?
Yeah, I lean a little bit toward the Mavericks first because of the Kyrie Irving experience. Also, their team has shown that they're pretty deep, and they will go to the bench and they will switch things up depending on who's hot and who's not. Their bigs, they have more, even though Jokic is the big, but they have multiple bigs. They can actually one of the few teams that can kind of match up with Gobert and Cat. That was something the Nuggets didn't have. They had Jokic and they had nothing else, and they just kind of wore on him. But that defense of the Timberwolves, when it's locked in, it's scary to see how teams cannot score for 10 minutes.
Nope.
Playing them. I think, like you said, it's an evolution in taking that step. And Luka's been to the Western Conference Finals before. Obviously, Kyrie has been to the top of the mountain. It seems like Dallas is in that position where they have that extra experience that will get them over the top. But I think it's one of those series that's 51-49, and my 51 just leaning toward the Mavs.
Yeah, and I think the odds makers view it that way, although they have the Thunder, or I should say the T-Wolves as the favorite. Real quick, and I'm spending less time on it because I think the Pacers are going to get dusted by the Celtics, but give credit to Indiana. They win a game 7. They're playing against, a mash unit for the Knicks. By the time the season ended, the entire Knicks starting lineup was essentially on the injured list. Give me a sense of, and look, if the Celtics don't go to the NBA Finals, they should disband the franchise because it has all been laid out so easily for them in this postseason.
Yeah, I disagree that it's going to be easy because it's the Celtics, and they have a tendency That's the problem. They lose home games.
Yeah,
they win road games. They should have had 2 easy sweeps, and they still lost 2 games. Somehow to 2 teams that didn't have any players. So, which is odd. To me, I think the Pacers are healthy. They're one of the most healthy teams to come into the Eastern Conference Finals. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 6. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers stole game 1. Let's put it like that. I think it'll be a longer series than people think.
If you are going to bet in this series, I would absolutely agree with you that the game to go bet the Pacers is game 1. By the way, they're getting 10 in game 1 on Tuesday night.
Ooh,
Indiana getting 10 in game 1 on Tuesday night. I like Indiana in that game. I do.
Yeah, I mean, taking them in game 1 after they just shot almost 70% and the Celtics have been sitting back on the beach, drinking margaritas. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's something I would jump all over.
All right, we're coming back. We're going to do more with Robert, get some thoughts with him on boxing and a whole bunch more.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found against nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
We are firing on all cylinders on this Monday edition of the show. Sammy Arnell returns in 10 minutes for something to consider. PGA Championship edition. I'm an idiot. That's all there is to it. I'm an idiot. That's all there is to it. That's all we need to say. We'll tell you why coming up in 10 minutes if you haven't been watching the show. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online, hanging out with us as he did last Monday on the show. So we've had back-to-back weekends with great boxing stories. And really, it's been a great year for boxing so far. We're about to enter the month of June. I'm not talking about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul and all that, which obviously is going to be a circus. But the fight this weekend, where you finally get for the first time the unifying of the 4 heavyweight championship belts, Xander Shauffele beating Tyson Fury in this battle in Riyadh, and split decision. I watched the highlights of the fight. I didn't watch the entire fight, but I watched the highlights of the fight. Usyk knocking down Fury in this fight. And one of the things that always perplexes me about Fury, and I know you're more of a boxing guy, so I'm sure you've got an easy answer for this. I want to know how Fury, at whatever age he's at, looks like he's in 10 times worse shape than Mike Tyson at 57 and is able to go in there and win fights. It just boggles my mind. He looks like just a big white blob. He almost looks like a character on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Like just
the way I always explain it to people is Fury is like a boxing equivalent to Jokic. If you just saw Jokic on like a pickup game, you would think, oh, he's tall and he's big, but then you see the way his feet move, and you see the way his hands move, and you see the way his brain, works on the court. That's what sets him above everybody else. And it's athleticism, just not in the visual, form. So that's Fury. It's visually is not there, but he's quicker, he's faster, he's herky jerky. His feet move extremely well for someone of that size. And for a period of the fight, it perplexed Usyk trying to deal with them. But if Fury has a flaw, it seems to be in whichever fight he's in, at some point he relaxes or he takes a break. And as soon as he does, he has what we like to call good recuperating powers, but his chin is not great. And that's why he's always getting knocked down. Now he gets up, but he always has, periods in the fight to where you can take advantage of the fact that he's been a little lazy in the ring. And this time it cost him his belt.
Yeah, it certainly did. And now, am I understanding this correct that they're saying these belts won't be unified for long because Usyk's going to get stripped of one of them?
Yeah, the IBF has a strict policy on the mandatories, meaning that they don't let you step aside to fight, rematches if they have a mandatory challenger in queue. Now, sometimes, money can make that type of thing go away. But if the mandatory wants his opportunity at the belt, then the actual champion has to decide either to fight him or to take the belt away. Since they have a rematch clause where the money for the rematch clause is even more than the original fight, no one ever says, I'm going to fight for lesser money for the belt because contractually they already have a rematch clause. So unless something is worked out behind the scenes, the next time they fight, it'll be for 3 belts instead of 4.
What's the rematch look like? Are we talking, sometime in the fall?
Yeah, it's set. It depends. It was a tough fight for both guys. Fury nose was all messed up. Usyk's jaw wasn't looking too hot. So they're saying possibly the fall, but I can see it even being pushed maybe closer to the winter.
Any idea where?
Any idea where?
Though?
It's still going to probably be in Saudi Arabia.
Really? We can't get a fight in Vegas? Come on. I'm going to be living there.
The Saudis are bringing Bud Crawford to L.A., along with Virgil Ortiz and potentially Deontay Wilder, Tim Tszyu. But as far as the unfortunately, someone like Usyk and Tyson Fury domestically here in America just don't sell the same way that they do overseas.
I want to see a fight here. Come on, man. Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
UFC legends. It's great. Do we really need to see them in a boxing ring next month in Brazil?
That's all it is. It's when you see these old UFC guys fighting in boxing, it's simply because boxing pays them more than probably 10 UFC fights that they had in their career combined. Nobody wants to see it, but somebody wants to pay for it. And I think what happens, you come to Chael Sonnen and you come to Silva and say, hey, I give both of you guys $1 million, to kind of pillow fight, for a while. They're not going to turn.
Hey, don't knock pillow fighting. That's a real sport.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that before on late night. I'm up too late these days.
But come on. I mean, for such a legendary rivalry to kind of end this way, it just feels like it cheapens it a bit to me.
Yeah, it's, you see it a lot in fighting sports as they get older. The exhibitions, the fights against weird people and weird play. Floyd Mayweather's fighting John Gotti's grandson.
Yes,
it's just as they get older, they can't get away from the limelight, and they're willing to take. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody fought a bear at some point in the next 5 years.
Get in the ring with a dancing bear. I kind of like it. Has your opinion changed any on Tyson and Jake Paul in the last couple of weeks? Since now they're doing this media. Now they're doing this media tour where they're going around and talking and
My concern is that Jake Paul doesn't actually hurt Mike Tyson.
That's still your concern, huh?
I understand he's Mike Tyson and but the man is 60 years old.
Love you, Robert Littal. Does a great job. Black Sports Online. Check him out there at BSO. Always appreciate your time, my friend. Be well.
All right, you have a good week. It's raining here. Come on, give me some sun. I'm in California.
Raining? Not in Palm Springs. We're coming back.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel with Japanese-grade steel blades plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groove. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss now.
Odds and ends coming up about 10 minutes from now. An all-star game with some flair. Yeah. We'll get to that coming up. Should have got... I tossed around the idea of putting Tino Patino on this NASCAR story, but I talked to him on Friday. That Tino energy on a Monday, I don't know. I'm not sure if I could handle that on a Monday. Right, Sam Yarnell? I don't know if we can handle the Tino energy on a Monday. I'm just saying. No? Yeah.
It's certainly a lot. I mean, hey, some people need a Monday wake-up call, Jason.
Yeah. That would be. See this giant coffee in my hand? It'd be like seven of these. All right, something to consider, Sam Yarnell. Consider this. Just a week ago, I came on this very show and said that Xander Shauffele was the equivalent of Matt Kuchar. That Xander Shauffele was that great golfer that was going to make tons of money, but wasn't going to win a major. Or couldn't win a major. Not that he wasn't going to, but he couldn't. What's he do? Makes a idiot out of me, that's for sure. Goes out and wins a major. Not only does he win a major, Sam Yarnell, he has a record-breaking performance at 21 under, and he beats a who's who of the game's best golfers in taking the PGA Championship. So let me just say congrats. First, I want to be the first to say on this show, because many people have probably already said it in the last 24 hours, congratulations, Xander Shauffele. Well-deserved. You crossed the finish line. You got one. Enjoy the Live Tour when you go there in about 6 months. There you go. Got to get it in.
Oh, my gosh.
That's where he's going. He's
wow.
going to wind up on the Live
What a
Tour.
weekend. What a weekend out in Louisville, Kentucky. The round 162, how do you get better than that? It was a shame that we couldn't come on here on Friday, Jason, and talk about it together. But I mean, 9 under in an opening round, you're setting yourself up for a beautiful weekend. And quite frankly, after he shot the 9 under in the first round, I figured, this is going to be a huge narrative when he blows it on Sunday and somehow loses this tournament by 3 strokes. No,
you were still able to get him. You were still able to get him at a good number after that great first round on Friday, or on Thursday, if you were looking to.
Yeah, for sure. The choker of the weekend, by the way, Colin Morikawa. I mean, had the lead headed into the last day and then ends up tied for 4th, 6 strokes off the lead. Incredible choke job out of Morikawa there. But this was a wild PGA Championship. That Valhalla course was incredibly gettable all weekend long. Obviously, from the 62 on Thursday all the way through the end, and Xander shooting a 65 to close out the winning round. I thought it was an interesting stat that I saw. So the 3 lowest combined score par by the field in PGA Championship history. The third lowest was 2018 at Belle Reve. It was 59 over par, was how everyone combined, the field combined to par in the PGA Championship. The second lowest was 1995 at Riviera, where the field combined to 40 over par at the PGA Championship. This was the lowest combined under par score in PGA Championship history. 2024 at Valhalla, the field combined to shoot 214 under par in this tournament. Absolutely wild stuff.
Yeah, it was. But let me say this, and I have been critical and of certain live guys, and just critical of Bryson DeChambeau in general for the way he's purported himself, carried himself over the years. There were two winners at this event. One was Xander Shauffele. The other was Bryson DeChambeau, who I think did a lot to redeem what a lot of people thought of him from a character standpoint in going out there, performing the way he did, the way he handled himself post-round, and him walking up, and it seems like a little thing, but it really isn't in this day and age. They're talking about Michael Malone. Seeing Bryson DeChambeau basically go out of his way to go find Xander Schauffele to congratulate him on winning his first major when the round ended, and was seen on TV. I thought that was a classy move by Bryson DeChambeau to go and seek out Xander Schauffele in that moment, let alone what he did for that kid who he flipped a ball to and one of the fans stole the ball. And then Bryson DeChambeau shouted him down, and the guy came back and gave the ball to the kid he was supposed to. I think that's what you were referring to. But kudos to Bryson DeChambeau, who I thought had a fantastic weekend.
And I will be the first one to say I am a former Bryson DeChambeau hater, and this weekend alone flipped me. There was something different in the guy. It seemed like he cared more about every shot. The thing with the kid was the thing that flipped me at the end. That was awesome. But great to see what Bryson has done to kind of turn that narrative around. I'm excited to finally root for him because he is one hell of a golfer, and it seems like he's now becoming a really good person as well.
Well, it looks like he's learning anyway. You know, I mean, look, there are some guys that just go through an entire career being what they are. And I could sit here and rattle off, star athlete after star athlete and guys who just sort of settle into a mold and a role, whether it's trying to be the heel like a wrestler or trying to be a face or trying to be fake or whatever it is. Bryson DeChambeau's learning. That's what this weekend showed to me. The guy's learning. Real quick, Jason, your boy Tiger missed the cut by 5 strokes. What do we feel like? I feel sad. I feel sad. It's tough to watch. Odds and ends. We'll get to it next. All right, just about time to wrap up this Monday edition of the show. Before we do, a reminder, check out the vodcast version of Sports Wrap. More and more people doing it every day. Subscribe now. Available on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, you name it. We're on all of them. Go and subscribe right now. Sports Wrap with Jason Page, Vodcast podcast. Without any further delay, time for some odds. It ends. Sammy Arnell, odds and ends. We need more all-star games like they have in NASCAR. That's what we need. We need more all-star games where guys are trying to beat the snot out of each other after the race ends. We need all-star games in the NHL where they actually fight, because guess what? That's what happens in NHL games. I hate fighting in the NHL, but if you're going to have it in every game of the season, why not have it in the all-star game? Just a thought. Why not actually play hard for 4 quarters in an NBA All-Star game? Well, they don't do it during the regular season anyway, so I guess that wouldn't be indicative of how they carry themselves. Major League Baseball, I want Pete Rose running over somebody in an All-Star game. I want to see that in today's All-Star game. Give me a Pro Bowl where, a linebacker's trying to tear the head off of a of a quarterback. I thought it was great last night. For those who may have missed it, the All-Star race in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, I believe. I think it's North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. I don't know. It's NASCAR. Love you, Tino Patino. It's NASCAR.
It's probably in North Carolina because it is NASCAR.
Yeah, I think so. So they had the All-Star race last night. Joey Logano, your winner, by the way. But as he's being interviewed, I mean, this was kind of cool. As he's literally being interviewed on the track for winning this $1 million race, Joey Logano, you've got Ricky Stenhouse, who got wrecked, I think, in the second lap of the race or something like that, running over to Kyle Busch. Words are exchanged. They start fighting. The two pit crews start going after each other. It's funny because I was watching Days of Thunder over the weekend. Just happened to pop up on my screen. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, Robert Duvall, Randy Quaid. And there's actually a scene where the drivers start fighting and the pit crews start fighting. That's what you had. It was almost like somebody was like, hey, let's Days of Thunder this thing. So you had that in NASCAR over the weekend. I don't know. What do you say, Sam Yarnell? What sport would you most like to see?
What sport would I most like to see?
What sport would you most like to see the All-Star game played in that sort of vigorous manner? Really? Yeah.
Hockey. Give me a line brawl in the NHL All-Star game.
Everybody just drops the glove.
Give me a goalie fight in the NHL All-Star game 6 ways to Sunday. My goodness, that would be absolutely electric city. I was thinking about this, though, and I think it's an interesting conversation to have because we do see this seemingly a lot more in NASCAR than we do in other sports. Like these guys walking over to each other's pit stalls after the race ends and just having a knockdown, drag-out brawl. And I was thinking about why that happens, and my deductive reasoning has gotten me to, in NASCAR, more so than any other sport, the individual athletes, the drivers, are so much more heavily invested in their own personal performance, and their own personal performance is also so much more dependent upon how much money they have coming in and how much money they're putting out in terms of building pit crews and making cars better and so on and so forth. I say all that to say, when you have these amounts of money lined within every movement on a racetrack, it turns the temperature in the kitchen up a little. Like if Anthony Edwards goes 1 for 15 in the first game of the Western Conference Finals, he's not losing $600,000. But Joey Logano, if he crashes, he's got to pay off that car and pay back those sponsors and doesn't make money from the race that week. So I think that's why it means a little more in NASCAR, but I'm here for it.
I love the passion. I love the passion of NASCAR. I've watched more of it this year than I've watched in any other year, and I'm glad I've actually picked up on it. All right, real quick. The WNBA has a little bit of a problem here. I love Caitlin Clark. I love watching me some Caitlin Clark. But the WNBA's got a bit of a problem because here's the issue. The Indiana Fever have 36 of their 40 games on either network or one of the streaming platforms like an Amazon Prime. 36 of 40. How many times do I have to turn on a primetime network WNBA game and watch the Fever get dusted? They're 0-3. We get it. Caitlin Clark's good. But I have no interest in watching this team get blown out on a nightly basis or every other nightly basis for 40 games this year just so I can see Caitlin Clark score 24 or 25 points. That's a problem.
I hate to be this guy, like I really do, but someone's got to say it. Were we expecting the Fever to be insanely good because
of one player? A lot of the WNBA analysts were. They were all saying they're going to be a playoff team. They're 0-3.
Right, and it never made sense, and the odds never added up to it. And there was a reason that the people who actually have the money invested in this thing understood that when you're the worst team cumulatively over a 2-year stretch, one player doesn't just turn that around and make it a playoff team. 2 players, whatever. Like, yes, this is good. The Fever have done better this year than they already did last year,
They're still
and
0-3.
Caitlin's only getting better.
Yeah, they're 0-3. And look, I think their next game is tonight against the Sun, 0-4. I mean, We'll see you tomorrow.